We believe that all of life is sacred and that we have been given this one life to make unlimited. We believe in our Creator's divine plan for all of humanity to have infinite lifespans and perfect health and eternal joy, rendering death to be optional. By following our gospel, we achieve eternal life, creating a heaven here on earth. Hey, Chris.
Hey, Kayla.
I don't have an intro for you today.
I think that was it.
That was the intro. Welcome to Culture Just Weird. I'm Kayla. I'm a TV writer.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here.
Who are you?
Oh, I'm Chris. I am not a TV writer.
No, you're not.
I'm a data analyst and game designer and podcaster.
And we are here today to talk about cults or just weirds. That's what we do here on the show. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for being here.
Before we jump into the topic today, which I'm very excited about, I've been kind of sitting on this one for a minute. We need to take a minute to shout out our newest Patreon patrons. So thank you very much to GD and Ello, who have signed up for our Patreon, where they get exclusive access to our Discord, different things on Patreon. If you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/culturejustweird. And if you also want to hang out on the, free version of the Discord, which is still very cool.
Which is crappy. Sorry.
It's extremely cool. We talk about very cool things. You can check it out in the show notes.
Yeah. Thanks, GD. And you said Ello. E-L, is it like E-L-O? Elo or E-L-L-O?
E-L-L-O-E.
Elio? O-E. No, it's O-E. Yeah, I don't know. Is that like how like a Cockney accent says hello? Like Ello Govna?
Yes, that's the first name Ello, last name Govna.
His last name's Govna.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for being our patron.
Thank you to our patrons and thank you to all of our listeners. And now, Chris, if you're ready, we can just hop on in.
The question is, are you ready?
I mean, yes. I'm the one who
you're doing the
who wrote the script for the episode and prepared the topic and
Mm-hmm. Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome. Okay, Chris. We have taken a kind of long and winding road deep into the land of Tescrial by way initially of cryonics and Humanity Plus and transhumanism. And those topics kind of feel like far in the rear view now because we've gone so deep. And I know we're going to continue going deeper into that acronym.
That's what she said.
Tescrial, what is it? Transhumanism.
Extropianism.
Singularitarianism?
I prefer to say singularity. Wait, no, actually, I don't know what I prefer.
You don't know what you say. Singularityists. What's the C? Cosmism. Rationalists.
We did that one. That was less wrong.
Effective altruists and long-termism.
Right.
That's the bundle that we're kind of focusing on these days. But those initial topics of like cryonics and Humanity Plus, that was like episodes and episods and episodes
years
ago
at this point. Seasons.
Like now we're talking about AGI and like expanding human life across the universe and like trillions and trillions and trillions of people, and it's a lot.
Motes of dust.
A lot of Tescrial ideologies as well as cryonics and everything we've talked about so far this season are based largely on like the trappings of science or scientific ideas, rational thinking, technology, logic. But as we've discussed, these ideologies butt up against the spiritual. Yeah, I said but. Because we're talking about, in the same breath, we're talking about things like immortality, the meaning of life, the meaning of death, and what lies beyond.
Right. It just kind of feels like a different means to the same sort of like end that a lot of religions talk about.
Right. So I want to now visit a topic that, while related to Tescrial and the like, takes a little bit of a different approach. One that is decidedly spiritual or religious, or at least adopts the aesthetics of the spiritual or religious. Like the hard signifiers, stuff that's more in line of what we think about when we think about, religion in general.
So this is not just like podcasters being like, you know what? It's kind of like a religion. This is more like them being like, no, yeah, it is. No, that's what we're saying.
Today we're talking about something called the Church of Perpetual Life.
Church.
So
I've heard the word church before.
Yeah.
I think I've
Where
heard
have you heard that word before?
Like with religions. Christianity, I think, is one of them.
Yes.
That uses that word.
Yep.
Okay.
So you kind of know what we're talking about. There's a lot to say about the Church of Perpetual Life, but first and foremost, this is an organization, a community, a congregation that is driven by hope. It is optimistic, future-oriented, pro-science, And of course, a little complicated.
What? No, everything's always perfect whenever we talk about anything.
The church is a 501c3 located in Pompano Beach, Florida, just outside Fort Lauderdale for you Floridians. Have you heard about the Church of Perpetual Life, Mr. Florida?
No. I mean, not before you were starting to do these topics.
Yeah, actually, I mean, I guess it opened in 2013 and you had moved out of Florida
I was
long before
since,
then.
yeah.
It has, since opening in 2013,
They probably waited till I left, honestly.
They needed to get you out of that state.
Like, we don't want that guy to live forever.
No, get him out of here. It hosts monthly services for its congregants, has done so since 2013, both in person and online. The church describes itself as, quote, the only science/faith-based church in the world. And what's another one?
I just think that there are other groups that would at least make the claim to be science-based. I don't know. Like...
Church, though. Not group, not organization, not club, not cohort. Church.
What's Christian Science? Is that a science? That's not a science, is it?
No.
Is Scientology a science?
Do you think Scientology would consider themselves a science/faith-based church? I don't know.
I'm not sure. All I'm saying is, like, it's a big world with a lot of groups. And
sure.
There's probably at least one, right?
I mean...
Whatever.
This is their claim.
Okay.
I am not here to debunk it. This is simply their claim.
All right, fair enough.
This church serves as a place where people can come together over a shared, quote, faith in physical immortality. The church believes that unlimited lifespans are mankind's destiny as desired by something they refer to as the Creator.
Do they use the word faith?
Yes.
Okay.
Very, a lot. It's very important. Its followers want to be part of the effort to bring that reality into existence. The church has members who are otherwise Christian, Jewish, Hindu, Buddhist, atheist, humanist, transhumanist, and anyone interested in, quote, age reversal, cryonics, and the singularity.
So this isn't like if I go to a Baptist church, I'm like, I can't be a Catholic anymore. This is like, whatever, you can be both.
I see some similarities between this and like the Unitarian Universalist organizations where it's a church that is welcoming to members of all faiths, belief systems, lack thereof, secularness, etc., but this has a specific faith in technologies that will extend our life.
You know, I say that and I'm like, I don't know. I don't think the Baptists would care if that I was confirmed. And I don't think if I went back to my Catholic church, they'd be like, no, you can't come back in.
But it's not necessarily explicit that like our congregation is made up of a variety of different faiths.
Right. That's
it's
not
explicit
like an advertised.
That our congregation is made up of Catholics.
Right.
Or people seeking to be Catholic. I don't know. I don't speak for churches. So as mentioned, with this whole like age reversal, cryonics, singularity bent, cryonics is central to the church. If you go on their website, there's a whole section, like its own dedicated section about cryonics, entirely about cryonics. There's advertisement for the cryonics conferences.
Are they friends with Al?
What?
Are they friends with Al?
Isn't that an AA thing?
Al Core.
Alcor. That sounds like an AA thing. Oh, no, it's Friends of Bill.
That's Friends of
Bill W. Friends of Bill W is an AA thing.
No, this is Friends of Alcor.
Friends of Alcor is they are Friends of Alcor. Like they advertise Alcor, they advertise Cryonics Institute. I think they advertise other cryonics companies. It's big. Like they're big on this quote ambulance into the future thing.
Ambulance into the future.
Yeah, which is something that I think I first heard Cryogenator say when we did our interview.
Huh.
And that is also explicitly like that wording is used on their website.
Interesting.
And that of course makes sense if you believe the future holds the key to immortality. Like
right.
It makes sense that cryonics would go hand in hand with a congregation that is like
right. Freeze me till they figure this out.
Yeah. They're also really big into health. Like really, really big.
When you say health.
We'll get to that. I thought that this church was like, when I first started doing this, I thought it was mostly about cryonics. Mm-hmm. I kind of think it's mostly kind of like transhumanism is actually largely centered around life extension in general with like, it's more about the radical life extension technology. And so there's this huge emphasis on individuals kind of like taking charge of their own health to ensure like the most longevity.
So like Ray Kurzweil's book, Live Long Enough to Live Forever.
Yes.
Basically the...
And hold that thought because we're going to get to Mr. Kurzweil in like 2 sentences.
We're always talking about Ray.
I know. I'm never not thinking about Ray Kurzweil. Presumably this is so that they can all live long enough to hit the singularity or longevity escape velocity or whatever you want to call it.
Oh yeah, I heard you using that word. Okay, that's such an interesting turn of phrase.
I think the first place I heard about it or I definitely came across longevity escape velocity while I was researching cryonics. I think that we talked about it with Crouching Eater as well. And it basically refers to like if you Google it, the Wikipedia is it's a hypothetical situation in which one's remaining life expectancy, not your life expectancy at birth, your remaining life expectancy is extended longer than the time that is passing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, live long enough to live forever.
Yeah, it's that.
You expect that in the remaining time you have, there will be more years added to your life via technology than the time you have left.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
So because of this focus on like gotta live forever, there is a huge emphasis on vitamins, supplements, and other health aids or biohacking techniques that purport to increase health and extend life expectancy.
Which vitamin do I need to take?
Well, if we're talking, if we're going to call this the Ray Kurzweil approach,
okay,
since he's like known in pro-singularity communities for supplementing himself to the extreme, he's taking like 100+ pills a day.
Holy shit. Is he eating food?
Like back in, I think 2008, there was an article about how supposedly he was taking more than that at the time. He was taking like 250 pills a day.
Oh my God. And how do you even do that? There was
rumors and like articles about how he had like a hired person who was like his pill manager.
Oh my God.
I cannot confirm or deny this, but that is the story around.
Does he have a blood boy?
I wouldn't be surprised.
We should definitely do Blood Boy for the show.
We should definitely do Blood Boy.
That didn't sound very good the way I said it.
No, it did not.
Cover
Blood Boys on the show.
Cover the topic of Blood Boys on the show.
So I mean, he's doing these 100+ pills a day. He's also doing like IV infusions and other strategies in order to live long enough to like upload to the cloud or whatever the hell the singularity is going to be.
Okay, so if he's not doing Blood Boy, he's at least doing something directly into his veins.
There is an article that I'll link where he gives like his 3 most important vitamins. So if you want to get on the Ray Kurzweil train, go in our show notes. I'll link to that article.
Oh my God, Kayla, that is so clickbaity of you.
I just don't remember what they are.
I think we should say it on the show. I feel guilty.
I have to scroll down now to my links. So this is a blog post from transcend.me.
Okay.
In 2018.
Wait, can I guess top 3? Can I guess them?
Sure. You're not going to.
I'm not. Oh, okay.
But try. Go ahead.
So vitamin D is not one of them because that was going to be my guess.
That's not the top 3, but I guarantee you he takes a vitamin D.
I'm sure he
supplement.
takes vitamin D. All right. I don't know. He probably takes some weird thing. Yeah. I don't know. I'm sorry.
I only knew one of them. So he takes the first 3. Number 1, resveratrol.
Oh, I have heard of that. Isn't that the thing that's in wine?
Yes, the thing that's in the skin of grapes. It's an antioxidant in the skin of grapes.
Okay.
Then there is phosphatidylcholine.
Okay, I feel like I've heard that too. At least the choline
I have
part.
heard choline, and I've heard choline largely as like it's kind of the new hot thing in like supporting natural fertility. And it's found in like eggs and kidney beans and cottage cheese. But then like,
okay,
I don't know why we need it. And I don't know what phosphatidyl is. I don't know.
Probably has phosphate.
And then the number 3 is ubiquinol, which is an activated form of CoQ10, which is...
Oh, I almost said CoQ10.
CoQ10's a biggie.
Really?
So those are the top 3. He takes 97 others, so like, good luck.
Is it successful? Does he look like a strapping young 27-year-old?
I don't think it matters how he looks. It's just...
Does he feel like a strapping young 27-year-old, cancer-free, regular bowel movement?
He's only 76. I thought he was much older than that.
76?
He'll live forever.
I don't know, that's pretty... He's cutting it close, man. I don't know.
He'll be fine.
But the question is, how does he feel, right? Does he feel like he's 50?
You'll have to ask Ray.
Well, why don't we have Ray on the show?
Maybe we will. I don't know.
You can ask Emil. Emil worked with him.
So these are the kinds of things that are talked about in this community amongst, cryonics and age reversal and all the other things related to kind of that TESCREAL bundle. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the services at the Church of Perpetual Life in order to better understand what I mean by big into health.
Is this like goods and services, or is this like
No, I mean like church service. Like literal church service.
Okay.
This month, the church will host a service with Dr. Leslie Ray Matthews, a trauma surgeon, on the importance of vitamin D.
Oh boy.
Particularly in recovery from trauma and illness, as well as like the general dangers of vitamin D deficiency. This doctor is very, like, he says that half the world's population is deficient in vitamin D, and it's like really bad.
Yeah, see, the whole wellness bent here has just got me like really feeling sus. Like I say this as someone who
minds
takes vitamin D himself.
I know, me too.
I also am pretty sure that it's overhyped. So, but you know,
I don't know,
I'm just
though.
a guy.
I don't know if that one is.
I've seen some things written by people that we've had on the show before that are like, it's if you see somebody like, it's basically the one true cure thing. It's the one true cure thing.
No, if you're saying vitamin D is going to save your life, no. If you're saying vitamin D is probably good for you, yes.
Yeah. I think like as a supplement is what it says. I think it's fine. If it's like nobody gets enough vitamin D, and if they did, then nobody would have cancer. Like that obviously is not good.
In the past, other services have covered intermittent fasting to extend lifespan, using FDA-approved drugs off-label to reverse aging, fighting cancer with stem cell therapy, diets to detox and quote-unquote reverse obesity, and kind of more of that ilk.
Isn't calorie restriction actually a thing that's supported to show that it's... Or is that like rats? If rats eat less, they live longer, but we're not sure for humans.
As far as I understand, caloric restriction, particularly when like managed medically, and I don't mean like managed medically for weight loss. I mean managed medically for like ensuring that you're still getting all of your nutrition, but like restricting calories to a certain point, has some efficacy in, what is it at the end of your DNA? Telomeres?
Telomeres, yeah.
Like making those better.
Okay.
Which maybe
may or may not contribute. Yeah. Okay.
I think that all signs point to yes, but it's also like not a very practical, viable practice.
Right. It also seems kind of like risky. Like if you can walk that road perfectly, then okay. But it's like there's a lot of pitfalls. And
again, I looked into that particular thing like a decade ago, and that's when I learned like, oh, there's some efficacy here. I don't know what the current research says, and I don't think it's, again, like a super viable strategy for most people. So yeah, like the transhumanists they overlap with, these guys care a lot about reversing aging, extending life. But the difference here between the church and other like transhumanist organizations like Humanity Plus is that the church really and truly is that. It is a church. Like the building itself is set up kind of like a traditional Christian church where there's like a large room, there's wooden pews in rows facing a dais where officiants lead these services.
Is there like a crucifix and stuff?
There's not.
Do they sing Joy to the World?
There's a big logo. Their logo is kind of like a big like phoenix, like on fire rising from the ashes.
Yeah, I think I've seen that. Yeah. Okay. So that's essentially their crucifix.
Sure. Yeah. It's their religious icon.
Right.
When you attend a service, as you and I did, spoiler alert, Chris and I did.
Maybe that's where I saw the Phoenix thing.
Chris and I did attend on Zoom and on YouTube one of the services just to like get a feel for what's going on, see what they're talking about. And so there was music beforehand and it was secular music. And this is kind of, again, another like Unitarian Universalist vibe where secular music is used as like ritual.
Wasn't it
worship
also
ritual?
Like, it was on theme, right? It was like...
It's Forever Young.
It was Forever Young, yeah. But it was like sung by
the beautiful lady with the guitar
with microphone and guitar.
Yeah.
Which is like such a churchy thing.
Yeah. It was wonderful. I really liked that part.
Yeah.
Also, like other churches you might be familiar with, the Church of Perpetual Life has recognized prophets. Like they have 2 prophets. We'll get into them in a moment.
So they make money.
My head hurts. PROPHETS.
Oh, you know what? You can't be mad at me for this because you made that exact same joke.
I did.
When we were doing the react for that first Meal Torres interview.
You should probably just throw me out the window.
I want to.
They have a creed that reads, I'm going to read the whole thing. Quote, "We believe that all of life is sacred and that we have been given this one life to make unlimited. We believe in our Creator's divine plan for all of humanity to have infinite lifespans and perfect health and eternal joy, rendering death to be optional. By following our gospel, we achieve eternal life, creating a heaven here on earth. We follow Nikolai Fyodorov, who taught that the transcendence of the Creator will only be solved when humanity, in our united efforts, become an instrument of universal resuscitation, when the divine word becomes our divine action.
Is that one of their prophets?
That is prophet number 1.
Okay.
And we follow Arthur C. Clarke, who said, the only way to discover the limits of the possible is to go beyond them into the impossible. And so that's prophet number 2.
Arthur C. Clarke fanboy.
Yeah. And so we enter each day energized in spirit and empowered by the words of our prophets to live in joy, serving our Creator and all of mankind forever and ever. End quote.
Amen?
No amen.
Oh.
But forever and ever, I want to instinctually say amen.
Yeah, I know. My brain filled it in.
Congregants refer to themselves as Immortalists, as a nod to their faith that humanity will one day beat death. They have defined purposes spelled out for the church, and this includes things like providing fellowship for longevity enthusiasts, teaching scientific rationality, along with, quote, the Creator's plan that humanity evolved to achieve markedly extended healthy lifespans. Another purpose is to accelerate that plan. Another purpose is to create a sense of belonging and communal support to church members who become ill or hospitalized.
That's nice.
Or like people who are just having health issues, because health issues are obviously very... they can be very distressing for this congregation.
Yeah, for anybody, but
sure.
Maybe it sounds like them in particular.
And another purpose is to spread the word about the beliefs of the church so that others may become enlightened. But they're not
so we're doing their work for them.
They're not big, as far as I understand, they're not big proselytizers and going out and trying to force people to convert. They're just here's our church.
Chain of recruits low. I
think so. Okay. I don't get the sense that they're
they're not a pyramid scheme.
They're not a pyramid scheme from what I understand. And they're not
wellness grift, not pyramid.
They're not standing on street corners with pamphlets.
Okay.
All in all, seems like a pretty cool place.
I don't know. Yeah, it seems chill. The one that we went to seemed chill, if a little tedious.
It's really hard for me to sit on Zoom for 2 hours anymore. The pandemic ruined me for church services on Zoom.
Although to be fair, if I went to a Catholic mass that lasted 2 hours as a kid, I think my head would have exploded.
Yeah. It's not a terribly large church from what I can surmise. So they have about 4,500 subscribers on YouTube. And when we attended the service, there was, I think, maybe a couple dozen folks in the pews and then a couple dozen additional folks watching on the Zoom/YouTube stream. Mm-hmm. As mentioned, their prophets are science fiction writer Arthur C. Clarke. So that's the author of the 2001 Space Odyssey series of novels. And he was also a lifelong proponent of space travel. Big on that.
Oh, yeah. He's also the any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic guy.
And they quote that. That's important to them.
Yeah.
The other prophet we mentioned is Russian philosopher Nikolai Fyodorov, a religious thinker and futurist responsible for the Russian cosmism movement.
Oh, that's him.
That's him.
That's why I know that name.
Yeah.
Because cosmism is the C in Tescriel.
Cosmism is the C in Tescriel. Russian cosmism is obviously the precursor to cosmism, and Russian cosmism is actually the precursor to transhumanism in general.
Right. It's some of the soil out of which transhumanism grew.
Right.
From what I understand from discussing with Dr. Torres a little bit off podcast, there's definitely a gap in between Russian cosmism, pure Russian how it was back then, and what they and Dr. Gebru talk about now is the C in Tescriel is a little bit different. It's modern cosmism.
I'm sure they're very different.
But we'll maybe get to that a little bit. They're different but same, kind of.
Yeah, we'll get more into Russian cosmism in a future episode because we want to hit the C in Tescriel.
Mm-hmm. See it up. My grades.
So I don't want to talk too much about Fyodorov here. I also think it's important to note that while these are both their prophets, everything I've seen, there's kind of more emphasis on Fyodorov than Clarke. He's kind of the more central figure.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I guess maybe because Clarke is more of a fiction writer, whereas Fyodorov was more of a
philosopher,
ideology thinker. Yeah.
So hold that thought. We will get back to Fyodorov one day, but let's talk about some other speakers that have been invited to proselytize at the Church of Perpetual Life.
Okay.
There are a number of usual suspects. We have, of course, Ray Kurzweil. Most recently, he did a fireside chat 8 months ago. We've had services led by Dr. Max Moore, who is the former CEO of Alcor and a key figure in birthing the transhumanist movement.
Heavily involved in Humanity Plus and essentially the creator of extropianism.
Right. Then there are some other figures that are maybe less well known to like you and me and those listening, but are key in TESCREAL circles, such as biomedical gerontologist Aubrey de Grey and Liz Parrish, who is CEO of gene therapy company BioViva, who we could probably do an entire episode on BioViva. Go Google BioViva. There's some interesting articles out there.
Viva la bio.
And then, unfortunately, there are some speakers who, in my opinion, are pretty big red flags,
Okay.
such as chiropractor and water-only fasting enthusiast Dr. Frank Sabatino, who, I do not know anything about, but just the words chiropractor and water fasting only are red flags to me.
No, that's not good. That's chiropractor by itself would have been like, okay. Yeah. Water fasting by itself would have been like, no.
And James Stroll and Bernadine, who are the leaders of People Unlimited, a new religious movement that we've mentioned earlier that once claimed humans could achieve immortality via will. That was when there were 3 leaders, then one of the leaders died.
Right. One of them died, and now they pivoted to cryonics.
They embrace cryonics as well as other life-extending technologies. So it's a little...
Okay. I mean, I can see where it's like the Venn diagram kind of brushes up against that for these guys. But still, I don't know. Yeah, that's a flag for sure.
I want to bring these people up not because I want to knock the church or do some sort of gotcha, these guys suck. No, I just want to showcase what you're talking about. How even these organizations that identify as pro-science or science-based can often not really hold hard and fast to that claim. Mm-hmm. And I think that's doubly true when we're dealing with organizations who are embracing things like fringe science, proto-science, pseudoscience, or even cutting edge science.
Or hope-based science.
Yeah. The Church of Perpetual Life is not necessarily having mainstream scientists in on the regular to talk about advances in mainstream medicine. It's more about scientists, academics, and business people who embrace the speculation of life extension. Mm-hmm. And that can make for some pretty strange bedfellows, such as telecommunications satellite lawyers turned bioethics lawyers with groups like People Unlimited who have been labeled elsewhere as a cult. Martine Rothblatt is
that was a hell of a sentence.
Martine Rothblatt has spoken there several times, and she is a big activist in this biohacking life extension stuff.
Yeah, isn't she the CEO of some tech company that does some of this? Or am I?
Yeah, I think so. She also started Sirius XM. Yeah.
Oh.
She started as she's the coolest person. She started as a satellite communications lawyer. And then became a bioethics lawyer.
Did not know that.
Yeah.
Did not know that backstory.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, so I just wanted to bring that up. And a lot of these people get in bed with some people that you and I think are red flaggy. Again, this goes back to how we talked about Radfest back with cryonics.
Right.
How Alcor is currently not this style.
Right.
Of faith-based science.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that places like Alcor don't have a presence, or it doesn't mean that Alcor members don't go to things like Radfest that is run by groups affiliated with People Unlimited.
Yeah.
And People Unlimited and their other companies do things explicitly with Aubrey de Grey. And there's a really interesting overlap here that we keep running into this season. And it popped up again here.
Yeah. I think, that makes sense because it feels like these topics tend to be on that sort of gray area in between science and speculation and hope.
Right.
And I don't know, some pseudoscience is going to get in there,
Yeah. And I wonder if that, what the history of that is, because I do think of some of these big science names that we think of, the Arthur C. Clarke's, sure. But then also I don't know, you and I just watched a TikTok of famous quotes from all of these famous scientists Heisenberg and Oppenheimer and Newton and blah, blah, blah. And they're very spiritual and they're very pro speculation is very important. The quote from Einstein is imagination is more important than knowledge, that kind of shit.
Right.
So I think that science itself kind of has to be in bed with this stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's dangerous sometimes, but also like necessary at other times.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's very messy to analyze.
Yeah.
Like there definitely isn't like an easy answer of like, oh, they went to that club. That's not good.
Right.
Like, it's more of like I get why they went to that club, and there's some people that are good at that club, but there's other people that I don't know about at that club. I don't know.
And like, who's to say that scientists aren't allowed to like have fun speculating about shit?
Right.
Like,
and then there's also the conflation of like science isn't a like monolith. There's no church of science. Right. There's just groups, and science is a tool that is used, and some groups may like that tool better than others.
And then there's also like, hey, come to our church. We're like super immortalists. And then this guy's going to like sell his vitamin D pills to you. I don't know if that guy sells vitamin D, but like there are people that come and do services.
Though, for sure.
There are people that come and do services about like how their detox program is like going to save your life and reverse your aging, and how their supplements are the thing. And that's also another overlap that gives me pause.
Right.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the beliefs foundational to the church, the prophets, the services, the speakers, but who actually founded the church itself? Who is the man behind the curtain? Next week on Cult or Just Weird, we're going to meet a man named Bill Falloon and learn more about his journey to founding the Church of Perpetual Life, as well as other life extension efforts and controversies he's got under his belt.
Looking forward to it.
This is Kayla.
This is Chris.
And this has been
Cult or Just Perpetual Life?